again, I'm just sort of going to the same thing. You've been mentoring and investing in a lot of startups, both of you, in fact. So just want to understand, what is your investment philosophy, and like what are some of the industries you're actively engaged in, or are looking to engage in actually?
So I think for us, um, I'll talk first about the fund. So in Vol Invest from the venture fund, we invest in consumer, but wide in consumer, right? So consumer brands,
Hmm.
technology, platforms, and enablers. We've done already two investments, one in a vernacular podcasting or regional language podcasting platform called Cuckoo FM. Now
Yeah.
the largest in India, more than million paid subscribers. And we've also recently announced an investment in a consumer health platform called Eka Care,
Yeah.
solving for the full stack of consumer health, building on the government health stack, and sort of simplifying health, patient health records, insurance, and the likes um, for Indians. I would say, philosophy wise,
Hmm.
um, we both, and Trisha can add, look at three things. Because we invest in the early stage founder, who the person is, why they have the right to win, and how much grit they'll fight failure with. That's 50%. 20% is addressable market size. Is it a large enough market? I'm sugar free and gluten free, but I don't invest in sugar free, gluten free products because there's very few number of consumers in India, right? And then the last one is the basic, right? The business metrics, the economics, sales, growth velocity, gross margin, bottom line, team, infrastructure, plan, retention, those kind of things. So it would be 50% on founder, 20% on market size, and 30% on business metrics, unit economics. I don't know what you have to.
What about
No,
you?
I think that's fair. I think, the more we invest, the more we speak to founders, more time comes. We've also learned, right, about investing. I think another thing is that one thing we've learned is no shortcuts, right? When a
Fair
founder
enough.
says, I want to go from 0 to 100 crores, in 3 months or 6 months or a short period, I'm like, there has to be a reality check. So I think that's another big thing, right? Is there a reality check with the person? Are they actually aware of what's happening? Have they spent that time and effort to research this space? Do they care about the product, right? To just launch a brand, but the product quality not being up to the mark, according to me, that can never be a business. So I think, where we've seen people spend time understanding the space, understanding the gaps, the niche, spend time on developing the product, taking feedback on the product if it's still a pre-revenue, pre-launch stage, that shows you a lot about a founder as well. We do a typically early stage, right? So when we do early stage, you are betting mainly on the founder to
Yeah.
drive the business. We also like doing spaces where we can add value, right? We've also done a little bit of diversity because generally, like as an investor, you want to have a little bit of a
Sure.
wider portfolio. And in those cases, if I like the business and I don't necessarily am an expert, I'll always loop in an expert maybe to get it. But we've done about 70 deals, as Arjun said, across consumer tech, enablers, agri, fintech, edtech, EV, quite a variety to be very honest. And I think the ecosystem is really nice that you can leverage each other's experts.
So very interesting. You placed almost 50% importance on the founder.
Yeah.
Just want to understand, is that more because you're investing in early stage startups, or in general, like, do you agree with the idea that a founder is 50% critical to the success of the business?
It depends on the scale
Hmm.
of the business, to be honest. So at the early stage, it's a very founder driven conversation. If you're investing in a Series B, Series D startup, Series B, C, or D, then there is an org built around the founder, right?
Of
And so
course.
the dependence on the founder will reduce from 50%. There will be dependence on the founder, but reduce from 50%. But in the early stage, when there's a small team, small core team, but largely sort of heavy lifting done by the founders, you got to really back a person, because even if the idea doesn't work out so well and the person pivots, you're backing a person, right?
So
The
you're more of a
person is the
founder
stock.
person,
The
founder
person
over
is the
idea,
stock. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
That's
Look,
nice.
the idea has to be good.
Of course. So, how do you guys see the D2C industry shaping up right now? And are you noticing any interesting trends? You can talk about the good and the bad that are emerging in this space. Something you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, look, I think I'll share a realistic picture, right? Uh, I am obviously very biased. I'm from this ecosystem. And so I will say this is the decade of D2C, right? It's a decade of new age brands. Consumers in India are more discerning. Consumers are trading up. We have the largest middle class and one of the youngest and largest middle class in the world. And so the opportunity to build has never been better, right? COVID has changed behavior significantly. My mom and dad are placing orders online, which they had never done before. And so the opportunity is there. But with any opportunity comes challenges. And I think the challenges today in the D2C space, at least, are the amount of competition. Right? In certain spaces, competition is too heated. With competition comes increased ad costs, increased customer acquisition costs. I think that's something for all of us to keep in mind. As competition has increased, demand for ads has increased, supply still remains the same. Facebook is still Facebook. There's only so much real estate available. Same with Google. And so you have to be much smarter about your technicals and understanding the boring stuff, the numbers, when you're building a brand. I think the other thing that we are seeing today is that, let's say, for example, out of 100 rupees of consumption, 10 rupees was consumed online, 90 rupees was consumed offline. Then the craziest lockdown hit, it went to 100 rupees consumed online, 0 rupees consumed offline. Eventually, the world is settling as things are opening offline. And so we'll not go back to 10 rupees, but we'll go back to 20, 30, or 40. But we'll never go back to 100 either, right? Because there will be fundamental amount of offline consumption. And so brands that have reset themselves at the 100 will face some challenge because we will go back to more offline consumption. And also, I think at some point after a certain scale, D2C brands will have to start thinking of an omni-channel strategy. There will have to be like a Lenskart or a Sugar or a Nykaa. There'll have to be an offline presence. And I think the right balance of that is great. But the great part about online is at least setting up a base you can do online. I struggled setting up a base offline, right? Because there were certain challenges, money, competition, etc., all of that. But today, when Dr. Vaidya's is known by 2 million plus families in India or 2 million plus customers in India, going offline may be easier. And so that online base and then creation of omni-channel experience could be a beautiful balance that we'll see come out in India more.
Fair enough.
I think just to add in terms of trends, right? I see the power of content, right? The amount people are consuming of content. Also, it's surprising to see also the short span of attention someone has. How do you get a message or a content piece across now in 7 seconds, 10 seconds, right? That's a new art according to me, right? It's very difficult to do. So I think content consumption, I think people are caring a lot more about why should I buy this brand. People are questioning things a lot more. I feel it's a brand's responsibility now to make sure that they can educate the consumer, right? Not only about the ingredients, how to use, all of that, sure. But why should you buy X brand over Y, right? What does my brand stand for? How can I get someone to aspire to be a consumer of my brand? I think that's another thing. I think WhatsApp we have seen really, really explode in India.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our business was on WhatsApp as well. So how do you use that channel correctly? It gets misused also, I'll be honest, but to be quite cognizant about it and use it in the right way, super important. You'll realize the whole customer experience, right? People are spoiled with this whole Instamart, Swiggy, Zepto, or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, quick commerce that's coming out. People are getting spoiled because they have the option available. So how do you bridge that gap and be realistic without losing money on every order as well to make sure that the customer doesn't cancel the order, but giving them that right customer experience, right? Like when you have a personalized customer experience for yourself, right? I've bought X product. How do I upsell you the Y or Z that's the most relevant to you? I think that's becoming much more important than just saying, hey, you bought from me. Now these are 30 other products I have to offer you, right?
Contextualized retention.
I think contextualized retention that's perfectly put. That's definitely something that needs to be worked on.
No, interesting. So I think you'd be a better person for this.
You can see she talked about the specifics, I talked about the general, right?
No, but because we mentioned this, before as well in the podcast. So, and this is my take that the D2C industry has always been heavily dependent on advertising. Like the growth has simply happened on the basis of advertising, and advertising's sort of going through its own crisis as well with what's been happening with Facebook, Google, the iOS 14 changes, and everything in general. The customer acquisition costs, like you said, they're rising like they're going very, very high. As a brand, how do you plan around those challenges? And do you believe that's why storytelling has become so critical now for brands? Because if you're not investing in that particular art, if you're not investing in content right now, you're just going to get left behind.
So I'll be very honest. When we started, we didn't spend any money on brand building. right? And that was a mistake I think we made, right? Because your focus is, you're so young, you're so new as a business, you care about the revenue, you care that am I getting the sales? And I think a lot of brands face that. I think a mistake I made and I wouldn't do it again is probably spend all my money on just performance marketing. I would spend on brand building content.